you get paid for helping other people solve their problems. And if you can't do that reliably, you don't get paid. In fact, you'll lose money. George says, thank you, Lexi. Thank you, Derek, for having another guest join us. Less mistakes. You can always do better. Inches make the difference. Some things, he and I were just choking each other and otherwise tormenting each other for a couple hours before I came here. And, he really made the point from the first time that we ever trained together that, the 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters can make a total, a huge difference. And, sometimes 2 millimeters, sometimes a couple millimeters is the difference between your opponent is breathing or they're unconscious. This has given me another way to think back about, my other business interests in construction, in the stock market, that being as precise as you can be, it makes a big difference over time. Makes a big difference over time. And I mentioned construction earlier, I mentioned real estate earlier, that it's the difference between you having profits and a lot of profits and growing the business and having a lot more, and growing the business and having a lot more. Or you just get a few properties and you run them in a half-ass way and you have zero profits, and maybe you give up and just go back to a bitch-ass job. Maybe you just spend your life at a bitch-ass job because you wouldn't take the time to learn the few things that were necessary, because you didn't want to do every bit of your homework in this program. You want to be a multimillionaire. You want to have tens of millions. I hope you want to have tens of millions. That's not what it used to be, by the way. You want to have tens of millions, 100 million, few $100 million, but you don't have the work ethic to read a book or do 100% of the homework. So, all right. But don't be surprised when your outcomes are proportionate to your output. Jeannie says, I've learned that what I expected from real estate is only 1% of what I thought I knew about real estate. LOL. Yeah, hey, it's there's a lot of detail. There's think of other areas that you're familiar with, Jenny, of some of the things that your husband does or your father, and there's a lot of detail, and you learn new things for your whole life. You learn new things for your whole lifetime. So, yeah, this is no different. That you'll be learning new things, and if you try to figure it all out by yourself, you're really in trouble. And you got to learn things from people who already did it. You'll learn from other people's mistakes, so you don't have to make them. Make sure that, it's better to admit that there's a lot of things that you don't know, and then fill in the blanks and be a little smarter, than to think you're very smart and then have bad outcomes. So every day, you think about my situation, and any day in business or in MMA training, it's much less costly for me to learn something in training than to have a fuck up in the stock market. It's much less costly for me to learn something in training with high level professionals and champions than to get yourself killed because you were a dumbass and got yourself in a bad situation. So I hear you, and it's better to be humbled in training than humbled in real life and pay the consequences for that. So smart people learn new things every day, and a lot of respect for you to be here and putting in work consistently. You outwork a lot of the men here, by the way. You're outworking many men here, and I like to make fun of them for that it bothers some of them, but it's the truth. Ginny is in our last program. Here she is learning about real estate. She's going to be in our next program about entrepreneurship. And she's actually learning a lot and putting it to use. And there's some other guys on here that I don't think they're working as hard as you are. And I think you're going to have a lot better outcomes than them. That'd be the natural course of things, wouldn't it? If you understood more nuance, more detail, you're willing to do little boring things that other people didn't want to do. You're earning future victories. You're earning better returns over time. And I think that's fantastic. And I'd just like to take a moment to rub it in the face of some of the fellas. Jason says, what are a few bullet points when it comes to screening for the correct allies in real estate? contractors, real estate agents, and lenders. How do you separate the wheat from the chaff? Anybody that doesn't keep their word to me, they're not going to be around for very long. So that's the first thing, is if somebody tells me they're going to do something. I had one guy that I met with today, and we get along fine. But in the past, we had a problem where he'd tell me, I'm going to have this done by a certain time and a certain day. And then sometimes he didn't do that. And, about the second time that happened, I made it clear to him that I said, hey, words have meaning. Words have meaning. And if you tell me that you're going to have something done but at a particular date and up to a particular standard, that shit has to be that way. It has to be that way. And I don't give a fuck about I don't want to hear any fucking excuse. There's no excuse. It has to be that way. It has to be right. It has to be on time. It has to be beautiful. There's no excuse. All right? So if people don't keep their word, then, look, other people are going to rely on you. In a real estate business, other people are going to rely on you to do things by, a particular time and date. In any business, that's what it is. You get paid for helping other people solve their problems. And if you can't do that reliably, you don't get paid. In fact, you'll lose money. You lose reputation and you lose money. And anybody who's, reschedules on me last minute or is not concerned about, is not paying an appropriate respect to be on time, do what they said they're going to do, have an appropriate level of commitment, they're not going to be around me. And I don't give a shit if it causes me problems in the short term. What causes you more problems is letting bums hang out in the environment. And when you got a few people that are working hard and you allow some bum to linger around, it lowers their output. They start doing less. They'll start doing less. They won't work as hard. It's terrible. It's terrible. And it ruined the whole environment. Then when you bring somebody new into the environment, they think that's the standard. And if they were willing to do something at a high level, they'll stop doing it, There's also a momentum to a conversation. If you have a communication with your realtor or with attorneys or accountants or other professionals, if you ask them something and they return your call right away or they return an email right away, but then you fuck around and then you respond to them days later and you expect them to respond to you quickly, they won't. Over time, people get trained that way, that if you don't respond in a timely manner, people will start treating you the same way and they don't respond in a timely manner. And, maybe you got to let somebody go from your business when that happens, but it's kind of your fault. It's kind of your fault. I was thinking about that myself recently, that I have so many messages inbound. I have so many text messages is constant. Sometimes I get off this call. If we talk for 90 minutes, I have, 30 messages. And hey, I'm going to go train again. I'm going to have this little 200 calorie snack bar here, and I'm going to go back to training. And I don't have time to respond to all the messages that I get. And, it's not that, if I didn't like those people, they wouldn't have my phone number. They wouldn't be able to contact me, but I don't have time to respond to all of the damn things. I don't. So, I had that thought recently myself. I'm like, well, I don't mean to delay any of those people. I don't mean to not respond to their message. Sometimes I read a message and I'm like, well, let me think about that. And then 2 more days go by and I realized, oh yeah, I've been thinking about it, but I should have responded to that. So I don't know, man. There's a cost to behaving that way. But, I have kind of a problem. I have so many good opportunities. I have so many great opportunities that, I don't have time to deal with them all. And then other people will want to pitch me a new business, something of like, hey, invest in this business or come build this business with me. I'm like, man, I can't, no. And they say, well, at least hear me out about it. Like most of the time, if it's a client, that's fine. I'm there to help them with their business. When somebody around me is trying to pitch me a new business thing, I've become less and less open-minded about it, that money is not a problem for me anymore. And I don't want to take on new projects. I got enough projects. I don't have time to respond to people that I like and respect. I don't have time to respond to them now. And I don't need any more projects. So Derek, it's going to be the next big thing. So now I definitely, no. Derek, it's going to be $1 trillion business. Okay. Let's go build your own $1 trillion business. But I just don't have time for a lot of them. So be very careful with your time. Be very careful with your time. And if somebody's not keeping their word to you, they got to go. If somebody they're holding themselves to a low standard, nobody's going to be committed more to your success than they are to their own damn success. So if they're not doing things at a high level for themselves, they're probably not going to do things at a high level for you. Again, when I see that, when I see mediocre output, then people got to go. You got to get rid of them soon so they don't poison the well, so to speak. And I think that's a key one. And hold yourself accountable that other people are going to respond to you with a similar momentum that you do. And if you have a employee-employer type relationship or a contractor type relationship, maybe people will put up with that and not like it. But I find myself in that situation that people that I'd like to talk to, people that I like, people that I respect, I'm not good at returning messages anymore. So there's only so many hours in the day, and if I spend 3 hours returning messages, it's 3 hours I could have been training. It's 3 hours I could have been doing market research. It's 3 hours. My time has become extremely costly, and so if that's some of you, I apologize, but it's harder and harder for me to make time nowadays. So don't fuck with anybody that's wasting your time. David says, Travis mentioned last week that the recession that is alleged to come will be bad. What does bad look like? When will we know bad is here? Also, how can we make sure we stay in the loop with the feds? Bad looks different every time. So you know what bad looks like is that what's really bad is where there's tremendous opportunities and you're trying to time the market perfectly, and you miss the whole thing. You miss the whole thing because you think it's going to be exactly a particular way. No, man, the world evolves. So whatever, and people always prepare for the last recession and the recession before that, and then their memory fades when it gets longer than that. So people are preparing for what happened in the past. It'll be different next time. It'll be some other catalyst. It'll be something different. If it was easily identifiable and easily remedied, then it wouldn't happen. All right. So it's almost by definition, it's going to be something unique and unexpected by the majority of people. And how bad can it get? What does bad look like? Because Venezuela is a pretty good example. Average person down there, when you f up an economy bad enough. There's people down there that lost like 19 pounds in a year because there's no food. Cuba's pretty bad. North Korea, when you have politicians that take power and run a country like dictators, then you'd be lucky to find a rat to eat, but it's illegal to eat the rat because that's the government's rat. That's the people's rat. It's not your rat. So you're breaking the law. You either choose to starve to death or to break some law and stay alive, because that's how communism works. So that's what bad looks like, is you die in a communist dystopia. I'd say that's pretty bad. I know there's other gradients of bad that we hope things don't get that bad. Raul says, as always, great guest. What is your favorite real estate investment type? I don't have a favorite one. There's so many ways, if you learn nothing else in this program, there's so many ways to make money in real estate. There's so many ways. It's going to change over time. So at some time there's going to be a better opportunity with some residential land. Then at some other time there'll be a bad recession and you could buy houses for a lot less than it costs to build one. And then in some different environment, maybe the residential real estate laws in some states are so shitty that you'd rather own commercial real estate and you wouldn't want to touch residential at all. And, in a different environment, you'd rather own REITs than, I love owning REITs. I also own actual real estate, but I love real estate investment trusts. So if I don't like the way the REIT is run, I can fire them at any moment. I can pick up my phone, and in less than 1 minute, then I'm not a business partner with the managers of that company anymore. I just sell the stock. I just sell my shares, and I have cash immediately, or I can go reinvest it in something else that I like better. So there's so many ways to make money. That, like, if you think about, like, well, what is your favorite one? Is like, I have 40 favorites. I have 40 favorite ways to make money, which is why I have money. So if you only have one favorite and that's all you're going with, well, you're going to see the difference in outcome over time for sure. Alex says, Derek, very recently been involved in a trust arrangement that includes valuable family property. It is paid off. My cousin, who is respectable, needs a temporary space, 2 years, to live until he parts ways from 20 years in the military. He wants to live in the property without paying rent, but will pay all maintenance, taxes, etc. At first glance, how should further conversation with all in the trust be approached? Great question. Why should he live there rent-free? Why shouldn't he pay market rents? Why wouldn't he pay market rents? And if he's a member of the trust, if he's getting some percentage of on the back end, then that'll be equally divided. That would, if he paid market priced rent, that's where I think this should go. If he paid the market price rent, not a penny cheaper, if he paid the market price rent, then that would pay the taxes and the maintenance. That would all be taken care of with that money, okay? And whatever was left over would be divided amongst the beneficiaries of the trust, including him, including the cousin, who would get a portion of his money back as a beneficiary of the trust. So no, I don't think he should live there rent-free at all. And hey, if you're living in a nice place rent-free, does he only want to stay there 2 years, or is he going to have a reason that he's going to want to stay there longer after his 20 years in the military is up? So no, I think that's a terrible idea. And I think it's an insult to you. I think it's an insult to any other beneficiaries, and your cousin. He might be a respectable person, but he's not treating you fairly, and he's not treating the other beneficiaries fairly. And if he wants to live there, fine, but he should pay market rent. You should pay market rent, and including a security deposit. You should put in a security deposit. Should pay market rent, and if there's after the expenses and maintenance are taken care of, if there's some money left over, that'll be distributed proportionally with his interest as a beneficiary. So I think that's insulting for him to ask for that, or for her to ask for that. And now you said he, so it's insulting for him to ask for that. I think that would be the appropriate way to do things.
The biggest takeaways from this class have been learning all the details of the real estate world. Real estate's a huge commitment, and there's a myriad of things to learn, and this class goes over all of them, goes over everything in every category. Without this type of knowledge, you're at risk for liability, paying thousands of dollars in repairs, being fined, being sued. So this type of stuff is not optional. It's just absolutely necessary, and there's a lot to learn. I feel like there's a lifetime of experience packed into this course. It keeps you from making massive mistakes and losing thousands of dollars. The framework of this class is so thorough that I feel like I'm equipped to analyze potential deals and ready to invest when I find a good deal.